Welcome to Reformations LLC YouTube channel. I'm Ray and I'll be your host. This is actually the debut video for our Survivor series. And our Survivor series is where we're going to tell the story of different people who've gone through things that were meant to destroy them. But instead they turned it around and they'll share with us the positivity that came from those negative afflictions or experiences and how they turned it around for the good of themselves and others instead of allowing evil to prevail. So I'll sit down with different people who will tell their story, but today I'm going to begin by telling my own. So I'm asking others to come on and be vulnerable, so I should be able to do the same. So I'm going to go through as if I was sitting down with the guests, and I'll answer all the questions that I expect or that I'll ask them when they come on. I'll begin by telling a little bit about myself. My name is Raven Woods. I like to go by Ray. I am the mother of 4 children, so I have 3 boys, 1 girl, 21, 18, 17, and 16, 2 in college, 2 in high school, so I'm almost done. I am a tax specialist, a notary public. I am a published author of a children's book. It's just the one at the time. Not sure if there'll be others to follow, but right now it's just that one. And creator of Reformations LLC, where we specialize in turning negativity into positivity and make creations in representation of that. So that came about just because of the huge display of negativity in the world. I said, you know what, I believe we can turn that around for our good instead, so we'll claim it, we'll reform it, and make it our own. And I've done that in my business, which I will showcase throughout my postings and videos. So the affliction that I survived, as you can see by my shirt, is molestation. I am a survivor of molestation, and my shirt goes on to Philippians 4:13 that says, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. And I am a firm believer in that. So for anyone who is not aware or doesn't know, molestation is sexual abuse or inappropriate sexual contact with the minor. It's often by an adult or older individual. It involves unwanted touching, exposure, grooming of children, and it is a criminal offense. So if this is happening to you or someone you know, or you know someone who is doing this, please tell someone, say something. And at the end of the video, I will put the sexual abuse hotline number there for anyone who needs it. So child sexual abuse is not rare. Studies have shown that 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys will experience some type of sexual abuse by the time they're 18 years old. But because of the secretive nature, a lot of the cases will not be reported. So a lot of these children will suffer in silence, and that is just a terrible thing. Children are most often sexually abused by someone who they know. So someone in their inner circle, someone in their circle of trust. So a family member, a close friend in the family, a teacher at school. I mean, these things do happen. And that's where I'll stop right there, and I'll go ahead and begin with my own story. The person who molested me was a close friend of the family, someone that my family had known very well and trusted, someone who we knew his family and we gotten together. Our families did at times and at celebrations and things of that nature. So we knew him really well. And so I was 2 years old. It was 1985. And it was actually 12 days after my 2nd birthday when my mom was, she was arrested for forgery. And so she'd gone to jail. And my bonus dad, who, stayed with us, he worked a lot. And so I couldn't stay with him. And so I was sent to live with a family member during the time that my mom was incarcerated. And it was during that time that I was with that family member that the molestation occurred. And so I can't say for sure how long it started after I had gotten there. And I can't say exactly how many times it happened. I just know that it happened a lot of times, and it seemed like it went on for forever. And I just remember waking up one day and he was in the room that I was in. I was the only one in this room asleep. And I woke up and he was removing my clothes, and his clothes he'd already removed his clothes, and he was touching me, and then he began to have sexual intercourse with me at that age, at 2 years old. And so I really can't say at this particular time anything about feeling any type of pain as it relates to it hurting or anything like that. I just remember that it was very uncomfortable. And that I didn't want this to be happening. I wanted him to stop. I wanted someone to come in and stop him. I just was wishing, during these times that he would do this, that someone would come in and they would catch him or, stop him from doing it, and that never happened. And so this went on for a long time, or what at that age seemed like a long time, to where I would wake up to these things happening. And there were some days I would wake up and he wasn't there. And I'm, right now you would look upon that and be like, and that was a good day. But then there were those days that I would wake up and he was there. I would actually wake up because he was there, and because of what he was doing. And so that just started to become, for me at that age, the normal. Was he going to be there waking me up, or was he not? And that's what I would think before I go to sleep at night. Like, did I want to go to sleep? Because, I'm scared. Is he going to come in here tonight and wake me up and, do the stuff to me that he's been doing that I don't like? And he told me in the beginning that this was something that I would get in trouble for if I ever told anyone, and everybody would be mad at me. So, of course, I never said anything. And then there would be times when we would go on outings, him and, myself and my family member and others who would be there, other children, so cousins and things like that. And then he would always want me to sit on his lap when he was driving, or want me to sit on his lap when we were at wherever we were. And it just would, feel so uncomfortable. But nobody had ever said anything to him about it. And so he continued to do it. And so, as I, have gotten older, I'll say this real quick. As I've gotten older, I tend to think like nobody knew that anything was going on. I mean, because I was a child and he was, actually, having sexual intercourse with me. And so I know there was bleeding and I was giving baths and, grown-ups were changing my clothes. And so nobody had noticed anything. Or did someone know and just not say anything, And so those are questions you kind of have as you get older. And you just wonder those things. Anyway, so as I stated, I was there for a pretty long time. My mom was in jail for just shy of 2 years. And so I was here pretty much that whole time. And on the weekends, my bonus dad would come and get me and we would go and see my mom in prison. And I would love these days because I'd get to leave. But the only thing is I would be going right back. And so after we left her and, he'd stop, get me something to eat or something like that, then he'd take me right back to the family member's house. And so I'd cry and scream and I just didn't want to go. But when he would ask me, why, I would not say anything. I would never say like because of this, or I just would continue to cry and scream. And so he would drop me off, just probably thinking, I didn't want to be dropped off, or I was upset because we had to leave my mom, not knowing that it was something other than that. And so this went on probably every weekend, and this was the same routine for the whole time she was there. And then there came the time when we had all went to this get-together. As I stated, our families were real close, so this was something that was being hosted by his brother. And so we gone to this get-together, and at this particular time, my mom was there. So she was out of jail, and I'd always thought it was a party because she'd gotten out of jail. But when I was looking at the paperwork, and I noticed the day that she was paroled, it was almost a year before the last time that they say there was any interaction between him, doing something to me. So it was almost a year before that. And so I'm not sure if she had to go to a halfway house or anything prior to being able to go home, but I don't think she came and right for me when she got out. And so we were actually at this get together at his brother's house when I was made aware that I was going to have to go back to the family member's house once the get together was over. And I just didn't understand that. And so I was terrified. And I was like, no, that can't happen. Like, this is where this stops. I have to say something. So I'm just hollering and telling my mom I don't want to go back. I still really didn't want to say anything at the time because, remember, he told me that it was my fault and I was going to get in trouble. And at this time, I was 4. And so when she, had almost gotten fed up to the point that she was like, okay, and probably in the midst of spanking me. I just finally had told her, this is why I don't want to go back. This is what has been going on, and this is what he's been doing. And just told her everything. And so she instantly, once she heard all that, she went to where he was, and she just put her hands around his neck. And his brother, he instantly went for his gun. Let him go, let him go. And so she's like, I'm not letting him go. He's touched my daughter. And he's like, what? He didn't really understand. When I told her the story, it was just her that I told. I didn't tell her in front of everybody, so I just told her. And so he was like, no, Denise, that's not true. And so she was like, yes, it is. That's what she just told me. And so he asked her if he could speak to me, and asked me if I would talk to him. And she didn't want to let me talk to him at first. She was like, no, she wasn't going for it. But, in the end, she did allow me to speak with him. She stood in the doorway, her back turned, but she could hear what was going on. But she didn't want to make it seem like she was feeding me any information. So I'm speaking with him, and I'm telling him what has been going on, and, showing him, where he's touched me and what he's done. By, pointing, and there were dolls, and, there were also dolls later on, and I'll get into that later. But they wanted me to, show what he'd done. And so once I, told them and kind of showed them the things that he'd done to me, the brother he looked so sad, like his heart had just sunk. And he just seemed like he felt so sorry. He was so upset at what had occurred. And he instantly just was like, call the police. Because I think my mom wanted to kill him. I don't even know if she was thinking in terms of calling the police. She just was taking everything into her own hands. So at this particular time, like, they kept him there. He wasn't allowed to leave. And the police were called, and they came and they told the police what happened, and they did arrest him. And, they were asking me questions and stuff like that. And I just remember at that time feeling like, although all this was going on, lots of people there now, and the lights, and just people wondering what's going on, but just having that feeling of relief just because I finally said something. And, they weren't mad at me. They were mad at him. And now this wasn't going to happen anymore. And this had been going on for what seemed to be so long that, there was just that, I was able to, you would call it now, exhale, like just really, I can go to sleep tonight and nobody's going to wake me up doing things that they're not supposed to. I told my mama, she's protecting me. I get to go home. Those are the thoughts that were going through my mind as this occurred. And at that particular time, just having your mom, believe you and take the steps to make sure that she did what she needed to do to make sure now that this wasn't going to happen again and that you were going to be safe. That meant a lot because that's not the end of everybody's story. It's not the end of mine, but that's not how a lot of stories go. There are some children who, as I stated earlier, do suffer in silence. They may tell someone and that person doesn't believe them or doesn't say anything or is afraid about how it's going to make them look. And that's just not how it's supposed to be. When you go to someone and you tell them these things that are happening to you and this is supposed to be your protector, you should receive just that, protection. You see what I'm saying? That shouldn't be something that is able or allowed to continue. And so that's the reason that I'm doing this. I want to get my story out there so that others know you don't have to hold that in. You don't have to be afraid to say anything. You see what I'm saying? You are not a product of your past. This happened to you. This doesn't make you or determine who you are or where you go from here. And so that's the point of sharing my story. And that's not the end. So he was arrested. But there was a lot more that came with that. Courts, I was removed from the home, and it was a lot of other stuff. So I will go into that in part 2 of the video. And as I stated, at the end of this video, there will be the number for the sexual abuse hotline, and anybody is able to call that number and speak to someone if you need to, and they can tell you the next steps of what you need to do. If this is something that is being done to you at this time, please tell someone. If you need to go to the police yourself and tell them, tell someone. Tell your aunt, your uncle, tell your mom, your dad. You see what I'm saying? Or if sometimes the perpetrator can be your mom or dad. If that's what it is, then tell someone else. And your aunt, your uncle, your grandmother. There's someone to tell. And please get yourself some help, because this is not something that is okay. This shouldn't be happening to you. Regardless of how long ago it was, how old you are now, this is something that you can get through. Okay? I was able to overcome it. You are too. I would like to thank everyone who has taken the time to watch this video. And if you know someone who needs to see the video, please share it with them, and maybe they'll speak up and get the help that they need to get out of a situation that they may be in now. If you know someone who would like to come and share their story, or if you're someone who would like to come and share your story, then we'd love to have you. People need to know that even though you may go through something, you can overcome that. And you can turn things around for the good of yourselves, and you can share that with others and be able to assist somebody who may be going through those same things. So I just want to aid in the journey of others, like so many people have aided in mine. Again, thanks for watching, and have a fantastic day. God bless.